Welcome to the Cursed Archive. Case file number 001, The Watcher of Lot 44. This file begins at the end. When police officers Riley and Chen entered the Chicago loft of Mark Ellison on October 23rd, the first thing they noted was the cold. The power was out, a casualty of the storm 2 nights prior, but this was a different cold, a damp, penetrating cold that seemed to radiate, not from the windows, but from the walls themselves. Officer Chen, in his report, noted the silence. No hum of a refrigerator, no buzz of a clock, just silence. They found no signs of a struggle. They found no note. They found no Mark Ellison. The apartment was a time capsule of a life interrupted. A half-full coffee mug on the kitchen counter, its contents turned to sludge. A laptop on the sofa, screen dark, battery dead. Mark's keys, his wallet, and his driver's license were neatly placed by the door. Wherever Mark Ellison went, he left without the things one needs to exist. Officer Riley, a 5-year veteran, noted the smell. It was faint but unmistakable. The sharp chemical bite of turpentine, mixed with something else, something metallic, an old coppery smell, like a new penny or old blood. They found only one thing truly out of place. In the center of the main living area, a heavy wool winter blanket lay crumpled on the hardwood floor. It lay directly in front of a large, ornate picture frame hanging on the wall. The officers trained their flashlights on it. The frame was empty. Just a dark 2 by 3 foot rectangle of exposed wall. The police report was filed under missing person presumed voluntary. The case went cold. But this archive is not concerned with police conclusions. We are concerned with the truth. The police report was wrong. The frame was not empty, and Mark Ellison did not leave. This is the definitive record of what truly happened inside that loft. This is the 72-hour log of the acquisition and the disappearance of Mark Ellison. The answer to the mystery begins 72 hours earlier.
"72 hours earlier, Mark Ellison was an artist. Or, more accurately, he was a man who dreamed of being one. He lived in that small brick-walled loft, surviving by painting bland cityscapes for tourists. But his passion, his obsession, was collecting. He scavenged the dark corners of the internet, obscure forums, and digital estate sales, hunting for that one hidden masterpiece. On October 17th, he believed he had found it. It was listed on a dying forum for European art enthusiasts. The listing was simple, almost careless. Lot 44. A single blurry photograph showed a portrait of a man, gaunt, dressed in 19th century attire. His face was a blur of shadow, but the eyes, even in the low-resolution image, the eyes seemed to possess a clarity, an unnerving focus. The description was minimal. Old painting, frame is damaged, must sell. The starting bid, $50. For 3 days, Mark watched the auction. He was the only bidder. He couldn't believe his luck. An original 19th century portrait for the price of a cheap dinner. He placed his bid. He won. As he finalized the transaction, a flicker of professional curiosity led him to send one last message to the seller, user Sable81. Mark typed, "Any history on this piece?" The reply came back 5 minutes later, a single cryptic sentence. "It hates the dark." Mark chuckled. He assumed it was a marketing gimmick, a clever bit of folklore to add value to a worthless painting. He dismissed it and paid for the shipping. This was Mark's first mistake. The archive's research into user Sable81 found nothing. The account was a ghost, routing through untraceable servers. The payment was sent not to a person, but to a holding account that vanished 30 minutes after the transaction. Mark Ellison had not just bought a painting. He had accepted a transfer. The item known as Lot 44 is not a masterpiece. It is a vessel, a prison, and its original occupant was a man named Julian Ashen. Our records on Ashen are fragmented, pieced together from newspaper clippings and asylum ledgers from the 1880s. Julian Ashen was a portraitist in rural Pennsylvania. He was a man obsessed with a peculiar heretical theory. He believed that a true artist did not capture a likeness. He captured an essence. He was known for a disturbing technique, mixing his oil paints with his own blood. He claimed it bound the subject to the canvas forever. In 1884, his wife Ilara vanished without a trace. The townspeople searched. They found nothing but Ashen. He was sitting in his studio, staring at a blank canvas, his hands and the canvas stained red. He claimed Ilara was safe, that she had gone into the paint. He was committed to the Blackwood Asylum for the criminally insane.
For 5 years, Julian Ashen did not speak. He only requested paint. The asylum wisely denied him. His last recorded words were to an orderly, screamed during a violent thunderstorm. The orderly had, in a moment of pity, brought Ashen a small blank canvas and a charcoal pencil. Ashen had erupted. He shrieked, "You've left her in the dark! You don't know what she does in the dark!" The next morning, Julian Ashen was gone from his locked cell. All that remained was the canvas. It was no longer blank. It was a portrait, rendered in a thick, coppery, rust-colored pigment that the director refused to analyze. It was a portrait of Julian Ashen himself. Gaunt, screaming, his eyes fixed on the door. Lot 44 had claimed its first soul. The painting's journey over the next century is a trail of misery, a dark line drawn through history. In 1923, it was owned by a New York socialite. She developed a severe, crippling photophobia, a fear of light. She was found in her mansion, having blacked out every window, whispering to the painting in total darkness. Her cause of death: dehydration. In 1968, it was acquired by a university student in Berkeley. His roommate reported him missing. The police found the student's diary. The last entry read, "I'm going inside. It's the only place that's safe from what's outside." The student was never found. In 1999, it surfaced in an online auction sold by an account that, just like user Sable81, vanished after the sale. This is the history that Mark Ellison could not have known. He was not a collector. He was the next in line.
October 20th, Day 1, 2:15 p.m. The package arrives. It is not a professional art shipment. It is a large, crude wooden box sealed with heavy-duty staples. It smells wrong, like ozone, and something sweet, like rot. Mark, in his excitement, documents the unboxing in a digital journal. In this entry, he describes the frame. Garbage, he calls it. But the painting, the texture is unbelievable, he writes. Thick, caked on. It's like the paint is still wet. And the eyes, my God, it's like he's actually looking at me. Mark spends the afternoon cleaning it. He hangs it in the most prominent spot in his loft, directly opposite his bed. This is his second and most critical mistake. October 20th, Night 1, 3:03 a.m. Mark wakes up. The apartment is cold, unusually cold for an Illinois autumn. He feels watched. It is a primal reptilian feeling, the feeling of prey. He opens his eyes. The room is dark, lit only by the faint orange glow of the streetlights outside. He looks at the painting. The silhouette of the man in the portrait, Julian Ashen, is just a void in the darkness. But the eyes. Mark sits up, slowly. The eyes in the painting, were they always looking directly at him? He remembered them being angled slightly to the left. He turns on his bedside lamp. The room floods with light. The painting is normal. The man's eyes are angled slightly to the left. In his journal, Mark writes, "Just a nightmare. I'm letting the hates the dark comment get to me." He leaves the light on for the rest of the night. October 21, Day 2, 11 a.m. Mark tries to work. He sets up his own canvas, intending to paint, but he cannot focus. The archive recovered a text file from his laptop, dated this morning. He writes, "I can't paint. Every time I try, I feel judged. That damn painting, it just sits there, staring, mocking me. You're not a real artist, it feels like it's saying. You're a fraud." The painting, the one created by Julian Ashen, a man obsessed with essence, had found Mark's deepest fear. He spends the afternoon restlessly pacing. He finds himself standing before the painting for hours. He begins to talk to it. First as a joke. "So, what's your story, buddy?" Then with irritation, "Stop looking at me." Then with desperation. In a journal entry from 4:30 p.m., the tone changes. The text is frantic, full of typos. He writes, "I think it moved. I was in the kitchen. I heard a sound, like a wet canvas, a smacking sound. I came back, and the smile, he's not smiling, but the corner of his mouth,
It's higher. I know it's higher. I'm not crazy. October 21, night 2, 1:47 a.m. Mark is in bed. He hasn't slept. Every single light in the apartment is on.
A sound from the painting. A dry scraping sound, like fingernails on dried oil paint. Mark sits up, his heart pounding. In his journal, he describes this moment. He doesn't record it, he writes it, as if he is afraid to make a sound. It's scratching, he writes. It's inside the painting. Oh God, it's telling me to come in. It's telling me he's trapped. He's not the monster. The dark is the monster. Mark leaps from his bed. He grabs the heavy wool blanket, the one he uses for the Chicago winters, and he throws it over the painting. He covers it completely. The scratching stops instantly. The apartment is silent. Mark stands, shaking, staring at the shrouded canvas. He writes again. It stopped. I covered it. The cellar. It hates the dark. Oh my God. He wasn't warning me for the painting. He was warning me about it. It's trapped in there, and it wants the light. Mark retreats to his bathroom. He locks the door. He spends the entire night huddled in the bathtub, the lights on, listening. But the apartment remains silent. October 22nd, day 3, the obsession. Mark does not leave the loft. He does not eat. He sits on his sofa, staring at the blanket-covered canvas. His mind is unraveling. The archives file on Julian Ashen states that the painting doesn't just haunt, it communicates. It finds the fears of its owner, and it feeds. Mark Ellison feared being a fraud. He feared being forgotten, and the painting began to whisper. There is no audio recording of this. There is only Mark's journal. But his writing changes. It's no longer his. It's talking, he writes. The handwriting is looping, elegant, nothing like his previous panicked scrawls. It knows my name. It says it's lonely. It says it understands me. It says there's a place for me, a place where I won't be forgotten, a place inside. He writes that the painting is not a prison. He calls it a sanctuary. The world out here is cruel. It's bright and loud, and it judges me. But in there, it's quiet, it's safe, it's forever. The painter, Julian, he didn't run, he escaped. He's offering me the same thing. This is the psychosis of the supernatural, the victim invited in. October 22nd, night 3, 7:45 p.m. The final entry. A massive thunderstorm hits Chicago. The power grid is overloaded. At 7:46 p.m., Mark Ellison's apartment building goes dark. The last entry in Mark's journal is not a word. It is a single frantic scribble, a dark spiral pressed so hard into the page that it tore the paper. The rest is silence until the police arrive 12 hours later. This brings us back to Officers Riley and Chen. Back to the cold, empty apartment. Back to the keys and the wallet on the counter. And back to the empty frame. The police report concluded missing person. They saw an empty apartment and an empty frame. They filed their report. They left.
Sanctuary.
But the police report is wrong. This archives investigation found one more piece of evidence, a piece overlooked. The officers were not the last to leave that apartment. A cleaning crew, hired by the building's management, entered the loft 1 week later. It was one of the cleaners who found it. It had been kicked under the sofa, likely during the police search. A single sheet of paper from Mark's sketchbook. It was a drawing done in charcoal with frantic, terrified lines. It was a drawing of the loft, Mark's loft, his sofa, his kitchen, his front door. But it was drawn from a new perspective. It was drawn as if the artist was standing inside the wall, looking out from behind the empty frame. And in the corner of the sketch, scribbled in that same frantic hand, were 3 words. It lied. Case file number 001, The Watcher of Lot 44, is closed. But this archive remains open, and our next file concerns a porcelain doll recovered from an estate sale in rural Ohio. A doll that has recently started to sing.